three of our former patients and bariatric patients, and I'm going to introduce the first one. His name is Ed Sabatino.
Thank you guys, and good morning.
Good morning.
I actually, as I stand here, I can't believe I'm here, because 2 years ago, I never would have thought that I'd be standing at a walk like this. I work in radio, and we do a lot of these events, but whenever they would come up, I'd avoid them. So I'm gonna kind of give you my story and things I've been thinking about over the past few weeks leading up to this walk. Spent the last 3 years total changing my life. My weight did a lot of damage to me, to my daughter. I'm pretty sure it destroyed my marriage. And like an earthquake, it had a ripple effect through everything. And I've always been big. From the age of 2, 3, my cheeks were pleasantly pinchable. Everybody would pinch my cheeks. But that changes really quick. And you don't learn that till you get older. About 10 years ago, I hit 40, went to the doctors. The doctor told me I was walking on the edge of a cliff and I was about to fall off. He took out a piece of paper. He drew a stick figure on the edge of that cliff. He said, "This is you, and this is where you were going." That didn't have impact right away. What did have impact was that it was a stick figure. He drew me as a stick figure. I was pretty excited by that. Probably shouldn't have been, because in time, it started to sink. I started to look at my daughter, started to look at my parents, started looking at everything. All the things that I couldn't do started to pop into my head, and then I realized that stick figure was gonna fall soon. I could feel my own demise. Now publicly, here's the funny thing. Most people will not come up to you and say, "Hey, listen, man, you gotta get help. You need it, you're in trouble." They avoid it. And I think it's because, and it's one thing the doctor said, overweight people are just ridiculed. It's easy to ridicule somebody who's overweight because it's on display 24/7. It's not like other addictions where you can hide it in a bedroom, you can hide it anywhere. Go to a bar, sit there, it looks like you're just being social. It's a different disease. We treat it differently. Now, one question I have, because I do realize this, how many people do we have here that are in the medical industry? All work medical, okay. And listen, I so appreciate that you guys are all here. You're all here with us. Those of us that are in the middle of our journey, at the beginning of our journey, at the end of our journey. It means a lot. But one of the things I really want you to do when you go back to work on Monday is explain to your colleagues about the people you met here today. What type of people they are. What goes on in their head. There's a lot of things going on in a person's head who's fighting obesity. Things that you probably don't know, you've heard here or there, but your colleagues may just ignore it because all they see is another fat person. They don't realize we want the same things as everyone else. We want to be successful in weight loss. We want to be successful in our lives. And actually, you know, I just wrote this line, and I said, I wish I could have treated myself the way I treated other people. And that's kind of what I'd like to see from the medical profession. Do the same thing. Treat us all equally. We're coming to you looking for help. And all of us being here today helps raise that awareness. And it's important. I thought about a lot of things obsessively before the surgery. And I was 475 pounds. So now I'm down about 240 pounds. I continue to fight the battle every day. You know, you guys clap, but a part of me inside, to be perfectly honest, says, should we really be clapping for somebody who lost 240 pounds?
Yes.
Like, how How do I get to that point? How do you get to that point in there? No, I know it's the right thing. I know it's the right thing. It's something that I struggle with in my mind. But I had a lot of fears. And I feared things that normal-sized people never feared. Chairs with arms, restaurants that only had booths, concerts, sporting events, things I loved, but I didn't fit in the seats. Little kids staring at me. They're honest, so that's why they stare. Adults staring. They make jokes, that's why they stare. And walking around without pain. I think that's what also makes it kind of ironic, being at the Walk from Obesity, is that I could walk this place for 9 hours and never get tired. One would think, though, if things were as bad as they were, why wouldn't a semi-intelligent person take charge of everything? And I'll tell you, for me, it was failure. I was scared to fail. And I thought that doing nothing was better than failing again for the 8th, 9th, 10th time. I'd lost 70 pounds here, 60 pounds there, 100 pounds, 130 pounds, always gained it back and then more. So I knew the medical intervention was really the only way to go. And by that time, my wife had left me. I could feel my demise, but I began to set goals, lots of them. And I don't have time to get into them now, but they were very specific. And the one thing I did was I created a reward system so that when my goals were done, I was going to reward myself with something. And just to tell you, if it was a little bit nicer out, I would have taken my motorcycle here today. That was my midlife crisis reward. But I surrounded myself with the right people. You should do the same. If you're just starting on this journey, make sure you don't have yes people around you. If you have yes people, you're done. They'll be okay with you doing the wrong things because they want to do the wrong things with you. So be prepared. Be prepared with a good support staff. Your doctors, your nurses, your friends, your family. I kind of went off script. Also, the interesting thing is, I feel like I've lived in two different universes. A fat universe and what I call the normal universe. You don't realize how different it is until you've lived in both. I don't even really know how to describe it. The way people talk to me, act towards me, it's completely different. I think the funniest example was getting on a plane. I went to Chicago a few weeks ago, and I remember when I used to get on a plane, I'd go to the flight attendant and say, hey, I need a seatbelt extension. And of course, when she would walk, she'd walk back with it in her hand like that, so everybody on the plane got to see who was getting the seatbelt extender. But when I used to get on, I could see people's faces. It was terror that this guy was going to sit next to them. Now I got on the plane, and everybody was just smiling. Nobody really cared. And I couldn't believe the difference. And I think that a normal-sized person takes it for granted. I'll never take anything like that for granted again. Never. It was so impactful for me. People smiling. When I got to my seat, I was in the middle, which was always a scary place for a big guy. And the person next to me smiled, hi, how are you? A little small talk that never would have happened before. So a couple things really quick and I'll wrap up. The mirror has been my enemy forever. Before the surgery, I had one mirror in my house right over the sink so I could brush my teeth, comb my hair. And that person who looked back at me, he was miserable. And I always thought, I wish I could go back and tell that guy everything was going to be okay. that it was all going to work out. And interestingly enough, about 2 weeks ago, I was standing there brushing my teeth, got done, kind of checking out my shirt, making sure everything was okay. And I noticed that the guy in the mirror was smiling back at me. That hadn't happened before. And it made me realize that because I see the old me in the mirror still, he's got longer hair, it's darker, I'm younger, it's nice. But because I see that old guy in the mirror, and he never smiled before, and now he smiles, I've realized that the old me knows that the new me is okay and everything worked out all right. And I hope the same for each and every one of you. And when you get to your journey and you get through it and you work through it, because it's not easy. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. None of these people would have jobs if it were easy. It's not easy. Bariatric surgery is one tool in the toolbox. It's not a cure-all. You have to put in the effort. It's everything from using food as fuel, to keeping your body moving, to even more importantly, keeping your mind right. Have a great day, everybody, and thanks for listening to me. I really appreciate it.